3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point, you realized you were married into crazy.
And that's what our podcast is all about. We offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as we unpack this crazy thing called marriage.
So sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
All right, let's go.
Welcome to episode 142 of the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey.
I'm Snooks.
I'm Lovey. And like always, we always want to just welcome you back. You have a lot of choices. We say that every single time, but it's true. And we recognize that with all the distractions that are out in the world, you have the radio, you have iHeartRadio, you have
your aux cord. That's what I have. I have aux cord.
So then people have like Sirius radio and so many different things. And the fact that you've chosen to spend some time with us, it really warms our heart and makes us truly appreciative of each and every one of you. And helps us have a robust conversation. And with that said, if you're new to the podcast, we are a married couple for the last 24 years, been together the last 25 years. And what we do is talk about all things relationship, primarily marriage, but anything we talk about and discuss marriage really applies to all relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And we share some of the trials, tribulations, triumphs, all the things that we've gone through and things that we've learned along the way. And
things that we're still going through.
Amen. Can we get an amen out there? And we also bring you other couples and other people that can contribute to your relationship as well through a series of interviews. So we usually like to tell a story. Wait, you had that look like you wanted to say something.
No, I was moving the mic closer to my face because for those of you that are brand new, Lovey likes to chastise me by putting the microphone like in my face. He's getting ready to do it right now. Stop.
And she did like this whole kung fu block on me.
That's right. Don't make me start.
No, but there's a lot. So, again, this is episode 142. And I would really recommend that you go back and listen to 1 through 141. That's a little self-serving, but if you really want to know our story, and we're going to go into it again here shortly in the next several podcasts, but going back to like episode 1 through say 5 or 6, it really tells a lot of the tumultuous stuff that we went through, getting stabbed after we got engaged, open heart surgeries, near divorce, just tons, and it's the ordeals we've had with the children. There's just been stuff over and over and over again, and I emphasize that because I want you to know that we're just like you. We're with the exception of we've made a commitment to really reaching out and trying to help everyone else navigate that minefield that's out there.
So I'm sorry, I just have to jump in just because I forget things. So when you brought up about getting stabbed right after we got engaged. So literally we got engaged April 9th on my birthday, and April 14th, 5 days later, wasn't even a full week, 5 days later, Lovey was stabbed by my ex-boyfriend. Excuse me. So I was at work. One of the girls I work with, she's newly engaged.
Oh, okay.
And so she was, we make a big deal about new engagements and stuff. And so she was just like, how long you been married? Just kind of asking me how long I was married. And one of the other girls was in there. And then Ken was in there too. And so he's like, this is a fun time. It's exciting. Have you started looking for dresses? And, do you guys know your colors and invitations? And have you thought about venue and stuff like that? All the fun stuff. And so she was like, oh my gosh, no, we haven't done any of that yet. We went to, we did look at colors, but we haven't decided, and just kind of answering our questions. So she said to one of the other girls, so how did you get engaged? And so she told them was like they were at a park or something. And so they were like, asked me how I got engaged. And I was like, oh, how you surprised me on my birthday. And it was like, oh, that's so romantic. Oh my gosh, blah, 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 whatever. And I was like, yeah. And then the rug got pulled off and under us, and, kind of tongue in cheek kind of way. But they're like, huh? I was like, yeah, I start telling the story. And I was like, literally, this is like supposed to be the happiest time of our lives. And it was the most terrifying time of our lives. And so Veronica, that's the one who just got engaged, and she's standing there with her hand over her heart, and she was just like, her mouth was open, like, oh my God. Her eyes kind of started welling up a little bit, and I was like, yeah, it was a crazy time, And Nevis was like, well, you guys made it through. Kind of, I was like, yeah, for better or for worse, right? So
For better or for
just
worse.
kind of started laughing, but
Amen.
anyway.
Hey, before I move on, I do want to do this because I forgot to do it last week. Is I want to give a shout out to one of our listeners, and it was a really interesting, I guess, occurrence that took place a few weeks back. We said for better or for worse. I had to go in for an appointment for an EKG at my doctor's because today, if I sound a little slow, a little sluggish or whatever,
I
uh,
hit him in the mouth. No, I'm playing. I'm playing.
she ain't lying. No,
Whatever.
um,
We don't
it's,
abdicate violence.
today I had surgery, so and some chemotherapy, and so the anesthesia is still kind of like a little bit in my system. So, but with that said, I had to go in for EKG as a pre-op thing for today. And when I was checking in, this lady
Oh,
behind the counter, Esther, how you doing out there, Esther? Um, Esther Cantu actually says, "I think I know everything about you." She's like, "It's just something like I can't believe you're here or whatever." And I'm like, okay, do I know you? And she said that she listened to the podcast. I guess she recognized us either from from
not
social
us,
media
just you.
because you
I
weren't with
wasn't.
me.
I know you said recognize us.
But anyway, because she follows us on social media as well as listens to our podcast. So it was kind of a cool thing where it was like, wow, it's the first person I ever met that recognized, Snooks and I. I was the only one there at the time, but for just from the podcast. So that was kind of a cool thing. And I've been meaning to say, hey, Esther, just to say, hey, thank you. And we're appreciative that you do listen to the podcast. So make sure you have all your friends reach out and listen to the podcast as well. All of you that are out there listening by going to wherever you went to, whether it was Apple Podcasts or iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Pandora, wherever you're listening, or Ghana, if you're out, that's GAANA. It's a very large West Indian network, multimedia network out there. Make sure you leave a review and leave us some comments. Let us know, 5 stars, all that. So anyway, I just want to interject and just say, hey, Esther. So it's funny though, you bring up that term for better, for worse. And I feel so bad for my wife because it just seems like you just mentioned, like from the time that we got engaged, and here we are 24 years later, and she's still driving me around to hospitals.
I'm still taking care of you. Yes, I am.
She is still taking care of me.
Well, I mean, for better or for worse, in sick and in health and all those good things.
And we're pretty vocal about what we go through, and we try and help other couples share, or at least let them know that there's always something on the other side of the mountain, something at the end of the rainbow. There's
Mhm.
always hope. There's always something to look forward to. And right now, in this particular season, I'm dealing with bladder cancer. It's a very low stage. That I don't want to say there's no need for concern, but it is a very low stage, and we're just being very hyper aggressive with it. So that way, um, we're not telling stories for years and years and years to come about bladder cancer. But it's just one more thing that we have to go through, and you have to navigate, and you have to start really thinking about your individual mortality, but then also that the dependency that you have on each other.
Mhm. That's true.
And I feel like every individual out there has their adversities when it comes to a relationship, and that's the thing that we do. That's what we do best. We try and provide some laughter, some love, and some advice when overcoming adversity as it relates to your marriage or relationship. That's what we do in our coaching. Why are you smiling?
I was just
She
thinking of
looking sly over there.
no. So I'm sorry, but I was just thinking about today. So as Lovey said, he's kind of coming down off of the anesthesia. So we're in the process of our youngest daughter will be 18 on
Uh,
Thursday. And so she had a doctor's. So today was just kind of crazy. So she had a dentist appointment. Lovey had his surgery. So I took him, dropped him off, came back home. I got her, took her to her dentist appointment. They're on completely different sides of towns, but I didn't drive. She drove because she's getting ready to go for her driver's license test. So just I was just thinking, yeah, we're thinking about our what do you say, our mortality?
Oh,
Yeah, I thought he was gonna die a couple times on the freeway. I was like, oh my gosh, my daughter, our daughter, has a lead foot. And then it's so funny because this generation, I'll just group her in. It's like they think they know everything,
amen.
but they don't know everything.
Or
Or
anything.
exactly. And so she's trying to, we're like, okay, babe, you need to kind of slow down a little bit. Stop going up so fast. And then, you're braking too fast and you're not that proficient, I should say, at the whole car movement stuff. Because if you slam on the brakes too fast, you might lose control of the car. And she just swears she got it. Just like, I'm like, how are you gonna be kind of getting a little bit sideways attitude when we're trying to tell you something you've never driven before, as far as like you have no years experience of anything, and we got over 50 years driving experience in this car with you trying to help you out, and you gonna give us attitude. But I just, when you said mortality, I was like, yeah, we almost died today.
Yeah, that's crazy. She's driving up on a semi truck. I'm in the passenger side because I need that extra space. And I'm like, okay, you need to start braking. Brake, 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 brake. And she just looks at me like, and I'm like, look, girl, when you see their brakes and yet you're gaining on speed on them,
Right.
you need to slow down. And
Mm,
I always
mm,
tell her,
mm.
don't outpace your skill set. And that's what she has to. That's really her only weak spot right now. Everything else is coming along really well. But yeah,
Yeah,
facing mortality.
that was just funny. I thought about that.
Well, if you think about it, though, we're going through this adversity right now, this challenge that's before us when it comes to just navigating this season. But when you said for better or worse, I was thinking that there's been so many things that we've gone through over the years. And I think that there's some things out there that people need to remain cognizant of. And that's that there will be the better days and there will be the worst days.
Hmm.
And when we take our vow, if you have that included, and it says for better or worse, there's no equal. There's no for what's the word? No percentages. There aren't any percentages given.
Hmm.
So no one's saying, okay, well, for 70% better and 30% worse,
Right.
I take these vows.
Right.
Or for 50-50, it's going to be even. Or, for 20% better and 80% worse, I'm willing to deal with that. It's just for better or worse, however it comes.
Because a lot, you think about it, if that was the case, you'd be like, okay, I'll take 60% better, 40% worse. If we stay there, I'm cool. But once we go into the 92% worse and 8% better, I can't do it. So we need to decide right now.
Right,
There's no
right.
percentages. I like how you said that, because we don't know. That's the whole thing. You never know what life is going to show you, what it's going to bring you, what you're going to have to overcome. And when we say better, it could just be a little bit better. Some people are still looking for the silver lining on the moon 50 years later. Some people are still looking for the other shoe to drop, because we're in such harmony that when is the worst going to come? It's like, no, you just don't know what life is going to bring you. So you have to have it in your mind, or in your wheelhouse, that I am here for the long haul. I am here because I want to be with this person. It's a team thing. It's not me. It's not it's us.
Amen. It's funny. It's like, what's that word? What's that phrase we always use? Count it all joy.
Count it all joy.
Count it all joy. The better and the worse. Count the worse in your joy. Count the better in your joy. I know there's some church songs out there, and I'm trying to think of it, but I'm not gonna sing because Snooks does not allow me to
I
sing
just want to see
anymore.
what church songs you know.
Oh, I've had
Besides
that one.
Amazing Grace.
Okay, I know Amazing Grace. I can sing that one. I can even play that on harmonica. Um, no, that one, like that one that starts out, and it's usually like more of a baritone, whether it's a man or a woman, and it's like, I've had some good days.
Oh, I won't complain.
I won't complain. Come on, somebody sing it.
I'm not gonna sing it.
You're not gonna sing that one, okay?
No.
But I won't complain. That song, every time I hear that, and it's, I can apply it to my. I think anybody that truly listens to it can apply it to their life at any given moment.
Mhm.
And I think that we need to listen to that song, and it might even need to be on repeat for some of our marriages.
Mm.
Actually, hell, all of our marriages, that I won't complain. Now, you can complain. Here's the funny thing about complaints. When somebody says, "Oh, what's going on?" I'm like, "Well, I could complain, but nobody would listen. And if they did, they'd be happy it's happening to you and not them."
Right. Like, ooh,
It's like, I
keep
feel
that over
bad for
there.
you.
I know.
Exactly.
Keep that over there.
Yeah, yeah, don't touch me.
Right.
So I don't
Exactly.
want your
I
cooties
don't want
now.
the I don't want the bad mojo.
Don't give me that. No, exactly. So, but it's all about count it all joy, and I won't complain.
But okay, I just want to say this part too. So of course, in marriages, when you get married and you say the vows and they're, for better for worse, sickness and health, you're not thinking about the bad times
Oh
that
yeah, because I'm in
that
my
might
tux.
come,
You looking
you
hot in your
know.
dress.
But I feel like most people are, they're looking like to our future, what our future is going to look like, maybe material things, what house are we going to live in, what type of job am I going to be having, what kind of car, when are we going to decide to have kids, and these type of things. And we're about to move next, we doing next level stuff, that kind of thing. But one thing that happened, I'll say for us, we had our better was when we were dating. As far as like the good time stuff, our better was
Oh,
when
not
we,
not since then.
no, just listen to me. Let
Okay.
me, I'm trying to do a chronological
Oh,
order.
go. Okay, go ahead. I'll be quiet.
But our better was when we were dating. So we had, like, I felt like Lovey and I had almost like it was a whirlwind type of relationship. It was um it was I can't even describe the feelings that I had when we were dating. That was like, you couldn't tell me anything. I was like on cloud 9. What? I was like on cloud 19. But after we got engaged, and then the evening of the April 14th when that happened, it didn't it there's typically levels. It was good, and then it goes, oh, it's all right, it goes bad or whatever. It went to terrible, just from
0 to 60.
euphoric to terrible, better to worse, instantly. And so during that, we've said this before, our engagement was about doctor's appointments and maybe court dates and court appearances or whatever, more doctor's appointments, another surgery, um, what is that called? Physical therapy, and recuperating, and
Right.
um, there's another word I'm trying to find, but I can't think of right now. But those were
Oh,
that's
counseling and
it,
coaching
all
and all
that.
that.
That's what our engagement looked like. And of course, then you throw in, oh, I got to find a dress. I had to find time to find a dress because I was still working. Had to go find time to find a dress. Had to go find my shoes. It wasn't like this big to do about, oh yeah, I'm getting married. Oh yeah, I'm getting married. Oh shoot, I gotta go find a dress, because my main focus was dealing with Lovey and his recuperation. That's what I think I was trying to come up with. But so our worst, and even when we got married, it got a little better, but it was still, we were still dealing with the tragedy. So I want to say, welcome the worst. Don't always shy away from the worst. I feel like, because for us, after our worst, man, you talk about better. It was, I don't even know that we would be where we are now had we not gone through the worst,
Those
I should
first four
say.
years.
It was bad. And not to say that we have not had disagreements since 4 years. We haven't had moments where I'm like, if he look at me one more time, I'm gonna pour my coffee on him or something like that. But our better is just like, it's ridiculous how happy we are, how in tune we are, how our kids see us, other people see us, and it's not for show, it's a real thing. So sometimes when you go through that worse, it makes you better.
Right. And it's not just us. If you go back and listen to some of the podcasts in the archives, there's couples out there that we've interviewed over the years. You take a look at you take a look at the Taylors. I'm trying to remember, like, through this fog brain I have going on right now. But you look at the Taylors, having to pack up, being married, leaving a good job, pack up, move cross country so Aisha, the wife, could actually finish med school, with kids in tow. And, for Derek to actually pack up his kids, like, okay, we're going to go. I'm going to leave my job, which was a darn good job. And we're going to make sure that my wife is able to fulfill her dream. There's adversity involved in that. And if you look at where they are now, oh my God, talk about a power couple.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. But they know that they had to go through the adversity. They had to go through the challenges. There's ups and downs along the way. And even if you imagine that the adversity is like a cloud, like a storm of those angry clouds that are looming and overhead. But then every now and then the sun breaks through. Just a reminder of like, okay, you're going to get through this. Just stay true. Okay, here's an umbrella for you. It's going to rain, but here's the umbrella. Yes, you will get wet, but we're going to break some of that. Well, here's a windbreaker. Here's some other things that you need to use. So there's people like them. Go back and listen to their story. Go back and listen to the McDaniels and Eric and Monte. So you listen to their story, of having to deal with completely different family, basically culture, a clashing of cultures when it came to them, and see where they're at now with everything that they're doing and they're accomplishing, from their catering service to their ministry to the counseling that she does. It's absolutely amazing. And I feel bad that I mentioned a couple of couples. You look at the Haynes. The Haynes are those individuals that, had to go through some stuff, the childhood, or I should say college sweethearts, but then turn around and he's playing basketball professionally overseas for the last umpteen years. The separation, the long distance, there's challenges. And I bring these individuals up, and there's so many others that we've interviewed that you need to take a listen to.
The Kinseys.
Oh my God. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You want to listen to them.
The Kinseys, that's the redemption couple.
And it's funny because, and why do I bring them up? Because it's not about us. It's not about the Caissons. It's not about Snooks and Lovey. It's about the covenant. It's about the commitment.
Snap and Zebo, they had
challenges moving across country.
He was like, look, we ain't gonna make it.
There's and every one of these stories in some way, shape, or form. Even, take a look. We recently interviewed OL and Sway from marriedpreneur.com. And there is, look, she wasn't even going to crack the window open for him.
She was like, I don't know you.
Hold up, man. I don't know you. I don't know you.
I might have seen you around the church, but I don't know you.
And then when he finally got the opportunity to speak to her and introduce himself, he was sounding kind of stalkish.
That's so funny. Yes.
And you got to listen, because that was hilarious, and see what they're doing. They're an amazing couple who, by the way, I have to tell you, they reached out the other day. But that's amazing. But every single one of these had several things in tow or in common. And it was a commitment to the relationship, the fact that they were willing to work through their adversities or their challenges. And because they had a long distance relationship as well after they met. And it's not just about being willing to put in the work, but at no point did I hear anybody say, you only got one more for worse before I'm up out of here.
No, we said that.
I got three more betters.
I said that.
And that's it.
Right. No, you're right.
I got three more betters, and then but it was for better or worse. And so what we're going through right now is kind of a combination of the worst. I mean, I don't think anybody ever wants to hear that they have cancer.
2 times.
And so the first time they cut out. So last year, this time, when I got the first diagnosis, I had 4 tumors that were in my bladder. And so we removed that. We're like, oh, okay. And then so I got a little rambunctious and I was like, that's it. I beat cancer, and run around. And then a year later, and God was basically like, haha, guess what? And not that God does this to us. It's just that, it's our cells. It's a whole lot of science. But the fact that it's back reminds me that, it's a process. It's not a matter of beating it, not beating it. It's almost like being, people that go through Al-Anon, people that go through Alcoholics Anonymous or whatever, they always say that once you are an alcoholic, you're always an alcoholic. So you don't say like, oh, I beat alcoholism. It's just like, no, I'm alcohol, but I know how to manage it now. I know not to do this. There's a 12-step program, and hey, let me give it since I'm mentioning people, let me give a shout out to Anthony Santa Stevens. Anthony is a guy that we grew up in very similar neighborhoods. He knew a lot of people that I grew up with, particularly one of my buddies, Scott Silva. Hell, I'm just gonna call everybody out today.
I guess.
And but no, Anthony lives here in Galt as well, and he and his wife Amanda are amazing. And
I'm saying you just gonna give him the address now.
I'm gonna give the address. Look, send your checks too. Send money too. No, but
Whatever.
Anthony Santa Stevens has been, I can't remember how many years now,
It's been over 20 years.
and it's sober. And the one thing that Anthony always says is that it's a day by day thing.
Mhm.
And what we forget is that when it comes to our relationships and we're trying to advance, we want happily ever after right now. We're trying to look off into the future, like what our relationship can be. And I'm going to say, just focus on today. Just like Al-Anon. Now, have dreams, have goals. Absolutely. Have things that you want to accomplish as a couple, as individuals, what have you. But focus on the day, be in the moment. You know, the greatest accomplishment you're going to have is having an amazing day today in your marriage or your relationship.
It's funny that you kind of said that. I mean, and this a thought that just popped in my head. Like you say, we're focused on or don't focus on the happily ever after, which is down the road. You know, there's always going to be an ever after because there's always going to be a next day
We hope.
as long as you're both alive.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So focus on the happily right now and the ever after will come.
Hmm. It's so many, all the stories that we were taught when we were growing up,
What stories? What you taught?
the fairy tales.
You don't know nothing about no fairy tales.
Look, I know that Goldilocks,
Is that a fairy tale?
she got roots because she really wasn't blonde. I'm just saying. So I don't know if it was Goldilocks or Goldie Die, but no, anyway. No, but I mean, when you hear the stories like the princess stories, like from Disney and all of that, you see these and it's all happily ever after. I think the biggest myth that we have been sold is happily ever after. Let me explain why.
Yeah, please.
It does exist, but what they didn't tell us was that, what they didn't share with us was the little fine print underneath that. That the only way happily ever after comes about
Hmm.
is by stringing consecutive todays together.
That's true.
You have to string a consecutive amount of great days, amazing moments. And those only happen when you focus on the moment, when you focus on the day. And if you string enough of those together, the happily ever after takes care of itself. It's just like sports. When we talk to the girls for volleyball or any coach out there that coaches youth or adults, whatever, but you talk about, don't worry about the scoreboard. Don't worry about the score. The score will take care of itself. What we need to do is have discipline and focus on what we need to do right now. Let's run this play. Let's be disciplined in the moment. If we're disciplined in the moment, all that other stuff will take care of itself. Same thing when it comes to our relationships, when we're looking at for better or for worse. Be disciplined and focused in the moment and making sure that you and your spouse are taking care of each other today, and all that other stuff will take care of itself. And you'll get through all the for betters. I mean, we haven't gone into like the challenges that we had with our son when he was, young and, you know, had a challenge being kleptomaniac, taking money and everything else out of Snooks's
Yu-Gi-Oh
purse.
cards.
Oh
Oh,
my
good
God.
Lord.
I don't know if we ever told the story about how he sold some Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
No, he didn't
Oh, no,
sell
no, he
some.
bought Yu-Gi-Oh cards with $200 that he took out of Snooks's
He
purse.
bought 4 Yu-Gi-Oh cards to give the boy $100 bill. And I happened to be walking up there and I saw them doing their little exchange. And so I knew that he gave him that money because the look on the boy's face when he walked away, he looked down at the bill and then he looked back at him. So I walked up to the little boy. I said, "Excuse me, what did he just give you?" And he showed me the $100 bill. I said, "Thank you. I'll make sure you get your cards back." And I took the money. And when Kaylin saw me, he was terrified. I was like, "Yeah, because you were wrong for what you did."
Oh my God, we could tell those stories about Kaylin for days, but these are adversities. Do you remember the time when, son, forgive us for busting you out like this, but do you remember the time that Kaylin was missing? He ran away from home. Actually, he ran away from school. School was over. He stayed all day at school. This is elementary school, and decided he was not coming home because either he had I can't remember what it was, a bad grade or got in trouble at school. But rather than deal with the wrath of what was going to take place at home, he decided to just take off. So we ended up calling in a police report,
Hmm.
and then the police officer brings Kaylin home, And we're like, how did you find him? And he was like, he was just this old man was looking out his window. And he goes, and there was this kid just looking up at the stops or like looking at the street sign, like didn't know where he was at. And he goes, he just looked confused. So the old man called the police and they're like, okay, he fits the description. This is the kid we're looking for. And he was only like 4 blocks away from the
Oh
house
my God, he's literally around the corner.
and got lost. But there's these adversity. There's these, because then with every one of those moments, because we've had some moments with our daughters as well. We've had Ashanti deal with some stuff where we had to get involved with, her and her friends and the authorities,
Oh my
girls
God.
being too rambunctious out in public. And we've had stuff. And then the adversity is us having to deal with how we're going to parent
Hmm.
over those situations. And we didn't agree on everything that we just mentioned. I don't know that we agreed on our
Any,
approach
no,
to
we
any of
didn't.
those.
I think we got in an argument after every single last one of them.
And so that was some of the for worse.
Yeah. But the thing about it is,
Your genes, you got bad genes.
whatever. No, but the thing about it is, we didn't let the for better, or the for worse, I should say, overcome the for better. A lot of times, I think that you know, a lot of people focus so much just on the for worse, and they forget about the for better.
Mm.
You know, it's funny because even when we were going through our 4 year for worse timetable or situation, a lot of people thought that I was crazy
You
because,
were.
okay, here we go. Thought that I was crazy because they're like, that's not that big of a deal. But to me, it was a big deal, because that was, I'm like, no, I'm not accepting that or whatever. But their for worse looked way different from my for
Right.
worse.
Right.
So they were like, that's not, why are you tripping about? At least he don't,
At
and
least he
I'm,
don't beat you or
yeah, something like that. I was like, I'd be in prison, but whatever. But we have to, I'm glad that we did go through our for better. I mean, our for worse during those 4 years, because it made us for better, way better.
it's funny you mentioned that. There's
Is it?
because just today, so during my intake before surgery, I was talking with the nurse. So they have to go through your medical history, and she's like, "Oh my goodness, look, you had open heart surgery, and it says for trauma. Do you mind sharing?" So I got an opportunity to kind of share a
Oh
testimony.
yeah, no.
I'm like, as a matter of fact, pull up a chair, youngin. No, and I was able to share a testimony regarding that. She's like, "Oh my God, what a horrible experience to go through." And I looked at her like, "Well, yeah, of course it was
In the
horrible when we went
moment.
through it, but it was the
Hmm.
greatest thing that could have possibly happened to me in particular in my life." And she was like, "Okay, do tell." And I got to talk about how I grew closer to God and how um, life was put into perspective for me. And a lot of times, little stuff, I might, in Snooks' eyes, I might sweat it. And I'm not sweating the little stuff, like it's really inconsequential, but it's more about because I want it done a certain way.
He's sweating
And
it.
but it's like, but it gave me great perspective. I don't get near as angry or upset or give a rip about some of the things that many people do, because in the grand scheme of things, in my perspective, it doesn't matter.
Mm.
And I think that was a gift that was granted to me when I got stabbed. And I say all that because we have to understand that the things that we go through do make us stronger.
Mhm.
It's that thing, that which doesn't kill you makes us stronger.
Mhm.
Same thing when it comes to our relationships. And I think we need to not lose sight of that again, like we always say, barring abuse,
Mhm.
physical, spiritual, financial, emotional, every form of abuse you can think of, barring those forms of abuse, everything else is figure outable and you can go through it. I'm a firm believer in that, but you have to be committed to it. And you also have to recognize that get on the other side of whatever the challenge is milk and honey and pastures laden with gold, um,
It's like
for
the
a little while,
it's like the promised lands.
right? For a little while until the next storm comes. But every time you go through something, and if you're thinking, oh my God, here we go again, you have to also recognize that we go through the things that we go through to help us maneuver the next storm. You know, God never promised that there would not be storms. He just promised he will bring you through it.
So it's so funny to me that you kind of you talk about the storms and when they come and how to weather them, because someone who's never been through a storm,
Mm.
it's is oh my gosh, it's terrible, it's horrible, whatever. But you have someone who comes from stormy weather go be in a storm, like let's say for in California, for instance. I know people that come from Chicago, or they're from New York, or wherever it gets really super cold. And I've always lived in California. So to me, when it gets cold out here, I'm freezing. And I'm like, where's your coat? I get offended when I see people, "Well, I'm cold," and they don't have coat on. I'm like, where's your coat?
Or they're wearing shorts and flip
Oh,
flops
uh-uh.
in 30-degree
And
weather.
they're like, "Well, it's nice out." I'm like, it is not nice outside. It's like 58 degrees or something. They're like, "Girl, are you kidding me? I come from blah, 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 whatever, when it's like 0 degrees and it's zero." I'm like, so they're used to that.
Mm,
It's not a big deal to them. They
mm,
know that, oh, I can get through this. It's no biggie. It's kind of the same thing when you've experienced some stuff. I feel like when you talk about weather and the storm and that that storm is not going to last. That the hurricanes, they don't it's not hurricane season 12 months out of the year. It's not tornado season. It's not rainy season. It's not, what is it out here in California, earthquake or fire season, whatever. There's always there's always an end date, basically.
right. It's funny. So, so please hear me when I say this. If we sound like that couple, where we're like the Chicago couple, the example she used, where we're walking as it relates to our relationship and our marriage. If we're walking around and it's like 25 degrees outside, and and it sounds like we're walking around in flip flops and shorts because we've been through this, been through that, da 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 da, all that, and yet you're on where you're standing, it's storming. It's the first storm you've ever been
You're
in,
about to sink.
and you
Hmm.
feel like you're about to sink, and you're like, these guys don't relate to me. I promise we do,
Mm.
because there always has to be a first.
Yeah,
There's
that's true.
always a first.
Hmm.
And it's funny. We remember our first, because it was so traumatic. I mean, we had stuff to deal with, but we do remember. So we don't discount that a storm, our level of resiliency is different than your level of resiliency because of the things that we've gone through. And your resiliency will grow. It's just like when you have a piece of metal, or you have a piece of whatever, something that needs to be tested for strength, whether it's tensile, and meaning it's a measurement of how strong, let's say, a string is, or a rope, or even some metal or a window. But those things are tested time and time again, and the resiliency, the more you like, let's say steel, the more you forge it, the more you put it in fire, hammer it, water, put it back, in the fire, you're tempering it. But the more you go through, the stronger you get. And just because we've been pretty well tempered through a lot of things that we've gone through, it doesn't mean that we still don't relate or understand, or can offer some advice. So please take what we say. If you go back, listen to some of the other interviews, go back and listen to what they say. There's nuggets of all kinds of knowledge that I believe that you can really grow from and use towards um, making today a better day. So that way, again, we're not counting the four betters versus the four worses. It's all lumped into one bucket, but it will help you actually ensure that you're keeping that bucket. It's the never ending bucket, right? As much as you fill it with, it doesn't overflow.
Hmm.
As long as you're not keeping score and you're just like, okay, you know what? I got you today. Maybe today's your worst, today's my better, but
Right.
tomorrow might be vice versa.
Hmm. That's a good point that you that's a that's a good point that you just made, because on my some better days, Lovey is the worst. And on some of my worst days, he is the best. So you're not always going to be better at the same time. We're not always going to be worse at the same time. So even on the moments when we've both had some for worse um days, some for worse moments at the same time, that's when it gets pretty ugly. But we also have to remember, and we've had to, okay, we had to be mature, we had to be humble, and be okay, let me back up,
And be
because
vulnerable.
yes, exactly. willing to expose ourselves, let me back up, because it's not about me being right now. Because my being right now is about to cost me my relationship, you know.
Mm.
We say that before, do you want to be right or do you want the relationship? So we had to grow up in our relationship and mature, and also one of us had to give, you know what I'm saying?
It's the yielding part.
It
That's
was,
crazy.
yeah, we had to yield, because I mean we were still real in it, but we also had to, at some point someone was more compassionate than the other, someone yielded more than the other. You know, there is that ebb and flow with that give and that take. I'm not always the best, he's not always the worst. So just remember that you're not always going to be on level 9 at the same time.
Amen. You know,
I think that
and
rhymed.
there's a level of accountability that goes along with that, not just to each other. It's, you know, there's a level of accountability that you have to be, like said, you know, like Quest Green always talks about. Our boy Quest says, you know, you got to look through the HMV lenses, you know, that of humility, maturity, and vulnerability. Well, there's a level of accountability there where you have to be willing to do that with yourself as well.
Mm-hmm.
The maturity piece comes into play because I got to learn how to hold myself accountable.
Mm-hmm.
That's a level of self discipline that I think is overlooked so many times.
Yeah.
So that's it. You know, I'm actually feeling kind of groggy, so I don't know that I'm going to be able to go much longer.
I'm gonna
Um,
take care of my baby.
right? Take care of your baby girl.
I'm talking about Kiana
Oh,
upstairs.
my
No.
bad.
You know I'm talking
I
about
know you.
you.
So we need to do the I can.
Oh, yeah.
We thank you for joining us and hanging out with us once again. Um,
Also, I just want to say, to, you know, we've mentioned before that about Lovey and this cancer, and I don't know that I've said it. I just want to thank everybody for their prayers and their well wishes that we received, um, you know, for him.
amen. Thank you. Uh,
Oh.
she always shows the wrong part of the. It's backwards, babe.
No,
That's
it's
the
not.
I can for couples that we're actually
Yes.
pulling from right now. There's 40
Oh.
different affirmations, and it's just little simple things. When we talk about focusing on today, if you would just simply get yourself an I mean, they're less than $10 on our website. What you'll be able to do is get a statement that you can focus on for the day that can help advance your relationship.
This is perfect for today.
Is it?
Hmm.
Let me remind. It says, I
Okay.
can love my partner unconditionally. So let's
Okay.
just say that today, that's all I want her to do. Unconditionally, no conditions. Not if she cooks, not if she takes care of me, not if she, you know, massages my back and my feet while I'm convalescing. No, but I'm trying to milk it.
I'm like, whatever.
But no, if you get, when you pull one of these and you focus on it for the day, I
Mhm.
guarantee that you'll start to see a relationship, you know, just take it up a notch.
So mine says I can be more sensitive. That's perfect.
Yes, be sensitive when I tell you that I need my pain meds
Oh,
now.
good Lord.
Hey, as always, we're truly appreciative of each and every one of you. Thank you for listening to the Married into Crazy podcast. Please share with other individuals. And when we have sponsors occasionally, like we do with Mr. James Martin, who helps people actually reduce their taxes. If you're concerned about reducing your taxes, look at the show notes, reach out to him, get that free call, and see if there's something that he can actually do with you. And he's actually licensed in multiple states across the United States. And then, of course, there's our Married into Crazy coaching that we are here for. We have international clients and we have people that are here domestic. And it's just all about us making ourselves available. Look, I'm starting to like,
I'm a Abel.
I know my words are disappearing, y'all. So it's definitely time to shut it down. Reach out to us via a discovery call and we can talk for, you know, say 20, 30 minutes. I don't even know what it is. I think it's 15 minutes, but you just got a
15,
bonus.
between 15 and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So
So we'll talk with you and see if we're a fit and if we can be of assistance to you because that's our greatest joy.
mhm.
So with that said, until the next time,
Be blessed.
bye
Bye bye.
bye.